So Dr. Horton is from Grand Prairie, Texas. He is a Baylor graduate with a BA in Religion and Greek and holds graduate degrees from Southern Baptist Theological Seminary and Baylor University. He's married to Sarah from Conroe, Texas, and the Hortons have two sons, Josh and Joel. Dr. Horton is a former youth minister and pastor, having served in churches in Texas, Indiana, Hong Kong, and Georgia. He has taught at Hong Kong 16 Kong Baptist University, Yonok, is that the way you pronounce that? Okay, college in Thailand, Bruton Parker College in Georgia, Howard Payne University in Texas, and Baylor University currently. So I will go ahead and turn it over to you, Dr. Horton.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming. Given that short-term missions will likely remain a significant component of the Christian missions landscape, how can short-term mission leaders avoid the pitfalls often associated with short-term missions? These include cultural insensitivity, paternalism, misguided projects, dependency issues, cost inefficiency, and potentially just temporary effects. Short-term missions come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Some are much better than others. A significant number of churches and Christian organizations seek to be a witness to all the world by sending teams out to as many different countries and people groups as possible. Such an approach covers a large amount of territory, but has little depth. Relationships without deep roots tend to fade quickly, resulting in largely short-term effects that can indeed be detrimental to the host communities. While these pitfalls may be the case for many short-term mission trips, others seem to have a much different result. Some trips have led to long-term transformation for those in the host community, as well as the trip participants, resulting in deep, long-lasting cross-cultural partnerships. The purpose here is to highlight 3 such partnerships developed through short-term missions that have resulted in long-term mutual transformation and development. In so doing, these partnerships offer insights about the ways that faith-based short-term missions can become a reflection of meaningful cross-cultural Christian fellowship, true koinonia. They embody the healthy reciprocal relationships that DJ Schutz and Phil Steiner claim are critical to the successful short-term mission trips. These faith-based international partnerships reflect a different approach that seeks to have groups focus on one specific community over an extended period of time. This process, sometimes called twinning, works to build relationships that will inform the types of mission objectives as well as the methods for fulfilling those objectives. Twinning relationships move beyond quick fixes to fixing the problems, from charity to development. These faith-based partnerships may be formed between 2 congregations, or between one congregation and a Christian nonprofit organization, or between 2 Christian nonprofit organizations, which are typically supported by 1 or more churches as well as individual Christians. Typically, one of these partners tends to have greater material wealth and technical expertise, which they seek to share in dignifying and empowering ways with the other partner. The 3 sets of twins, not identical twins, but twins for this study, are Christian nonprofit partnerships with close connections to churches for their support and implementation of the objectives for development. The first is Adventures in Life Ministry and its partnership with Rancho Tunillo in Oaxaca, Mexico. The second partnership is Mission Waco, Mission World with Rise and Stand Up with Power in Verrier, Haiti. The third is Straw to Bread and its partnership with Bethlehem Home in Nayakach Plateau in rural Kenya. The members of these 3 cross-cultural partnerships recognize that poverty is larger and more pervasive than what is visible on the surface. The goer guests recognize their own shortcomings and areas of impoverishment. Seeking to become learners even as they are teachers in other areas. The Potter's House Association in Guatemala has developed a model for conceptualizing poverty that proves instructive for evaluating cross-cultural partnerships. The Guatemalan ministry divides poverty into 8 different spheres. Physical poverty manifests itself in easily visible ways and often serves as a starting point for mission objectives, meeting the basic needs of clean water, food, shelter, and medical care. Intellectual poverty refers to a lack of formal education, but it also applies to the poverty of knowledge and understanding on the part of the goer guest. Economic poverty highlights the need for sustainable businesses and a system that enables individuals and families to earn a living. Other spheres of impoverishment include spiritual poverty, a poverty of the will, a poverty of social support network, poverty of affection, and a poverty of civic involvement. While the Potter's House Association in Guatemala is focusing on communities within its borders, these same forms of poverty manifest themselves in affluent countries as well, though their presence often lies below the surface. Case study 1. Adventures in Life Ministry exists to make known the transforming power of the gospel through short-term mission in Mexico. This is done through holistic ministry partnerships designed to reach the heart of Mexico. One of the key areas of its work is in Oaxaca. They partner with Rancho Tenillo, a small, sustainable agricultural co-op that exists to provide help, support, and expertise in primarily indigenous communities that surround Oaxaca City. This partnership formed in 2010. Dave Miller, the director of AIL, has worked hard to develop lasting relationships with those in Oaxaca, especially pastors. Through these deep mutual friendships, he has learned about the greatest needs, areas of need in the community, and has learned from the local leadership what works best to those, or to minister to those in that particular region. Over the years, they have worked together to provide clean water through water filtration systems, basic medical care through local clinics, and needed supplies during emergency situations. They emphasize sustainability and training. Rancho Tenillo serves as a training center for subsistence farmers to come and learn how to increase their crop yields, giving them better outcomes within the world they live. Together, they build and distribute micro greenhouses to help local families that have greater access to healthy food. And during the pandemic, local church leaders like Pastor Chable in Oaxaca partnered with AIL to distribute the basic supplies and live chickens to help meet an immediate need for protein for these isolated families. But they also distributed incubators to help these families create an ongoing source of food and income. These cross-cultural partners also provide vocational training in a variety of areas to assist participants in finding gainful employment. Because of the well-established relationships, AIL was able to provide immediate care in December 2014 when riots broke out in the Oaxaca region, resulting in burned vehicles and businesses, along with serious injuries to several AIL friends. Functioning as a caring, extended family, supporters of AIL provided funds for medical care and replacement of vehicles, as well as business losses. Case study 2. These are 2 Christian nonprofits, profit organizations supported primarily by churches and individuals. These 2 organizations have been in partnership for 30 years. Janet Dorrell directs the international program for Mission Waco Mission World, and Dr. Nurla Nelson and Guy Saintville oversee the operation of Rise and Stand Up with Power in Verrier, Haiti. Their programs are focused on empowerment and addressing systemic issues that disempower the poor. Through the 30 years of partnership, these 2 organizations have worked together to improve community and family well-being through several measures. They have drilled and maintained 400 water wells to provide clean, potable water. Together, they help provide education for 350 children. Each of these sponsored children receive individual medical care from Dr. Nerla Nelson, a Haitian medical doctor and daughter of the original leader of the Haitian Parachurch organization. And together, they work to meet the needs to meet another need within the Haitian community, the need for clean light. In November 2015, they supplied 750 solar-powered LED lights for the 5-kilometer area around and in Ferrier. Case study number 3. Oh, hang on. One more item there. The two organizations are also working to empower women through microcredit and job training. 80 women have completed the program and 140 others are now enrolled. One of the joint goals of these cross-cultural partners is to remove the invisibility cloak, to let them know that, like Hagar in the wilderness, God sees them and cares for them. Now, case study number 3. Straw to Bread is a U.S.-based Christian nonprofit organization whose goal is to collaborate with Bethlehem Home, a Kenyan parachurch organization located among the Luo people living in the Nyakach Plateau in rural Kenya. Habil Ogala, the director of Bethlehem Home, and Lisa Baker, the director of Straw to Bread, are working together to improve health and education, economic empowerment, access to clean water, and provide food security for the Luo people. These two leaders have been collaborating for nearly 20 years, deriving much of their support through churches and individuals, both in the U.S. and in Kenya. As with the other two partnerships mentioned above, the ministry in Kenya focuses on key areas for the health, development, and empowerment of the community. Straw to Bread and Bethlehem Home have collaborated to drill a centralized well that has the capacity to provide up to 500 gallons of fresh, pure water per hour. They also have supplied hundreds of 250-liter rainwater harvesting systems at the homes of the poorest residents of the plateau, providing water during the frequent droughts. Straw to Bread also works with Bethlehem Home to help the members of the community implement sustainable farming methods that maximize their crop yields, resulting in greater food security. Baker emphasizes the collaboration in the process. She says this: "At the heart of our work is a philosophy that any successful farming project must be part of a continuing conversation with BH member farmers. These projects always occur as a partnership between Bethlehem Home and Straw to Bread." They've also prioritized education and medical care, resulting in a thriving school and hospital. Dr. Don Ogala, son of the host partner, earned his MD at the University of Nairobi and administers much of the medical care, gladly serving his home community even though he could earn more money in one of the larger cities. To work toward greater sustainability, the two ministries support microbusinesses, but they have also worked together to build a mortuary, which will create a significant source of community income for years into the future. This is not the normal thing that you would think of when you're thinking about a microbusiness, but it has worked really well for them. All three of these partnerships have common traits that have resulted in life-giving transformation on the part of everyone involved. First, they have listened and learned from one another. These are the key components. And the host partners have taken the lead in setting the agenda for priorities for what needs to be done in their communities and how these objectives should be accomplished. Unlike many short-term mission trip groups who insist on controlling the agenda for the trip, the goer guests in these partnerships have listened to their host partners and followed their lead. For example, all 3 host partners identified access to clean water as a critical need for the communities. However, the means by which they accomplished this goal differed according to their context. What works best in one location does not work best in another. The U.S. partners provided technological expertise and material resources, but the host partners informed them what would work best in their specific communities. One size does not fit all. The effectiveness of each endeavor has depended greatly on truly listening to the host partners and then working together with the resources and expertise of all parties involved. In so doing, these U.S. partners appropriately addressed one of the most important concerns that expressed by short-term mission host partners. They desire to have significant oversight of the agenda for their community and their local ministry. They desire for their voice to be heard, to fully collaborate with each other in ministry and development. As one exasperated Haitian ministry leader bemoaned after the 2010 earthquake, "Oh, Americans, they would be almost perfect people, except for one thing, if they would listen." These 3 U.S. partners did listen and continue to listen to their international partners. A second major component for the effectiveness of these partnerships is the investment of time for the purpose of building trusted relationships. The development within each of these communities has taken years of faithful commitment by each partner in their relationship. Miller has been working with his colleagues in Oaxaca for 10 years. Baker has been involved with the work of Bethlehem Home in Kenya for 20 years. And Janet Dorrell has been working in Haiti with her longtime friends for 30 years. From the beginning, their intention has been long-term partnership. The short-term trips serve to facilitate long-term relationships, not simply a series of projects. As Eugene Cho wisely observed, without genuine relationships with the poor, we rob them of their dignity, and they become mere projects. And God didn't intend for anyone to become our projects. Third component. These partners have worked towards sustainability in terms of material resources. The U.S. partners are quite aware of the dangers of dependency. They have read about toxic charity, but they have also read about rich Christians in an age of hunger. They understand the necessity of helping without hurting. Their goal is to share resources in such a way that their generosity does not debilitate, but rather empowers those in the host community. Initial costs can be insurmountable for those living in financial poverty, but resourceful members of the host community are quite capable of maintaining and developing a wisely run endeavor, whether that be water supply, a poultry enterprise, a sewing business, a greenhouse, a school, or even a mortuary. The end goal, however, is not complete independence. Both groups benefit from and desire to be in relationship with one another, leaning on the other as needed. In the words of Mark Elliott, what is needed between crippling dependence and crippling independence is a biblically based mutual interdependence. These partnerships reflect the image of the body of Christ, one body with many different members. All members contribute according to their gifts, knowledge, skills, and abilities for the good of the entire body. Fourth component. They also work toward sustainability in terms of leadership. Adventures in Life has worked for years with Pastor Chablé and Pastor Vera. Now, a new generation is getting involved with the leadership responsibilities. Pastor Vera's son, Asaf Vera, is leading the newly formed partner organization, Adventuras en la Vida Mexico. Miller has recruited and trained others in the U.S. who will be able to keep the U.S. side of the ministry healthy and productive. The Haitian partner organization for Mission Waco Mission World has grown its leadership staff and now has its own Haitian medical doctor. Bethlehem Home now has its own Kenyan doctor and many other leadership staff. With the support of the U.S. partners, members of the host communities have become medical doctors, pharmacists, teachers, as well as workers in other professions, using their education and training to build up their home communities. Fifth component, the members of the U.S. mission trip teams enter the host communities as learners in need of transformation. The team leaders shape the trips in ways that encourage their group members to be humble and to seek to learn from those in the host community. Mission Waco Mission World, for example, refers to its trips as exposure trips to help their members understand from the beginning that they are not going to Haiti to rescue them. Rather, they are going to gain exposure to how God is already at work in Haiti and to learn how they can partner with the Haitians, serving in ways that are beneficial, but also growing in their faith that leads to transformation in their own lives. The team members realize too that they are broken in different ways, that they too experience certain forms of poverty. Our false sense of security and our relatively high material wealth, for example, can lead to spiritual poverty. Many of the U.S. team members also suffer from isolation and loneliness because of the high level of individualism in the U.S. As we enlarge our understanding of poverty, we realize that we are all impoverished in one way or another. We need to learn from one another and lean on each other. As the percentage of Christians and the vitality of Christianity declines in Europe and North America, we should recognize all the more how much we have to learn from Christians in the global South and East, whose vitality and many examples of deep spiritual devotion have many lessons to teach us. This experience of reverse missions, learning and benefiting from those in the global South and East, requires humility. But the lessons may invigorate our lukewarm faith. My own study of students who participate in mission trips demonstrates that such participation has a tendency to lower student levels of ethnocentrism and materialism. Moreover, these short-term mission experiences often have a transformative influence on their sense of vocational calling. I'm going to put up these last two components rather than reading all the way through. You can read the paper or article later. But 6, both partners acknowledge and accept that they will make mistakes and experience failures, but they simply don't allow these failures to keep them from continuing to do the work. 7, the U.S. partners learn from past missionary mistakes to help them interact respectfully and gain appreciation for cultural values and customs in the host community. While some argue that short-term missions are ineffective with little positive lasting impact on the participants and negative or inefficient impact on the host community, these 3 examples of long-term mutual partnerships based on deep relationship provide evidence of a different narrative. The examination of these 3 partnerships, these 3 sets of twins, provides valuable lessons. Some key themes and values include the meaningfulness of long-term relationships, along with the value associated with a holistic approach, sustainability, local empowerment, host community input and leadership, mutual learning, reciprocity, involvement, and interdependence of individuals, churches, and organizations. Long-term partnerships developed through short-term missions include one network of entities collaborating with another network of entities. It doesn't take a village, it takes 2 villages.